to cover this morning. Needless to say, we'll be talking about all the primary results throughout the morning. We do have quite a few things. Mom Donnie had a big socialist night. We're going to talk about that. A few New York State updates. Let's get right to it. A comment came in after yesterday's broadcast saying it's hilarious when President Trump talks about the drug smugglers attempting to smuggle drugs into the United States via the ocean. And he says we have significantly reduced the influx. And then he goes puff puff while mimicking with his hand the dropping of bombs on the criminals. It makes me laugh every single time he talks about this reduction. God bless President Trump, a true patriot, unlike the commies who seek to destroy the foundations of our founding fathers' America. Thank you very much. Comment from Mark this morning saying good morning. Good morning to you, Mark. Well, I went and voted. They asked me my name, my address, and to sign my name, but no ID. So someone could use my address and name to vote. I believe ID should be mandatory to vote. Well, my candidate lost, which was Moss, but I guess he can run as an independent because there was no Democrats running. There are no Democrats running, and Moss is on the conservative line. So, yes, his name will still be on the ballot in the general election in November. But Mark Margeson defeating Chris Moss, and this was really, for Margeson, the biggest hurdle. Because, yes, Moss is on the conservative line. That's a very difficult win. But you could argue, with such low voter turnout, that it could be an interesting general election. But as of reporting at the Chemung County Board of Elections about 6 hours ago, the last time they updated, so these are all unofficial results, but as close to official as you can get while being unofficial. Mark Margeson defeating Chris Moss 55.55% to 44.29%. Look at these vote numbers, though. When you look at all Chemung County, Margeson receiving 2,482 votes to Chris Moss's 1,979. Now, also in Chemung County, LaWanna Morris defeated Brent Tarantino 58.64% to 41.36%. That's in District 1 of the county legislature. District 3, Tom Sweet defeated Don Ziegler 69.56% to 30.44%. At District 5 in the county legislature, Nicole Elston defeated Ken Miller 57.61% to 41.77%. And finally, in District 6, this is why you get out and vote. Now, again, there's absentees, there's some last-minute things that will change, but listen to this. District 6, Joseph Donovan, 169 votes. Kyle Weeder, 169 votes, tied at 49.85%. Now, one person did a write-in, so that one person, if they would have went with a candidate instead of a write-in, could have been the deciding factor in this race. Now, again, there's absentees. There's some things that we are waiting on. But again, I know I belabored the point so much yesterday. Just sounded like a broken record. But your vote matters so much in the primaries, and what a prime example. Again, District 6, Joe Donovan, Kyle Weeder, 169 to 169. Wow. Now, Mark Margeson, writing last night on his Facebook, tonight is really about all the people who volunteered and helped, not about me. This win was for the result of a large team effort. Hundreds who put up lawn signs, made phone calls, hosted us for events, and I'm very grateful to those who joined us with their votes today. Our fight for our home and a better future for our children and grandchildren continues on. We will continue bringing people together to solve problems across Chemung County. So that was arguably the biggest race in our area. Now, at the Steuben County level, again, in all of Steuben County, 2,938 people voted. That's just 4.5% of registered voters. Now, this is Democrat and Republican, because remember, there was Democrat primaries and we'll talk about those winners here in just a second, for Congress and for state comptroller. But 4.5% of all voters in Steuben County turned out yesterday for the primaries. That's just 2,938 votes. Okay. Let's go through this. In the town of Campbell for supervisor, Norman Maynard defeated Jeffrey Horton. Jeffrey Horton receiving 98 votes, Norman Maynard 160 votes. That's 61.78% for Norman Maynard, 37.84% for Jeffrey Horton. For Corningtown Justice, Wendelin Van Zyl defeating Randy Dye, 58.26% to 40.87%. For Irwintown Council, Heather Ford defeating Elisa Trosha, 61.38% to 37.59%. For Lindley Town Supervisor, Patrick Clark defeating Roger Reap, 76.32% to 23.16%. For Lindley Superintendent of Highways, Dylan Hill receiving 65.59% of the vote to Carlos Plumley's 34.41%. And finally, for Rathbone Town Council member, Kevin Clark receiving 71.62% of the vote to Mary Catherine Cole's 28.38%. So that is your update this morning at the, I would say, hyper local level. That, and again, so important. You look at these numbers, it is, wow, it is shocking. The low turnout, it is also shocking just in general. I think there was some interesting takeaways from last night. In the congressional race for the Democrat nomination for the 23rd Congressional District, St. Bonaventure University professor Aaron Geese will win the nomination, according to the Associated Press. As of the latest, again, unofficial results, Geese had 71.6% of the vote to Stocker's 28.1%. That was with around 80% of the votes counted. Now, that will mean that Aaron Geese will face Representative Nick Langworthy in the November general election. At the comptroller level, Thomas DiNapoli had no real problem with his challengers, coming in with 65% of the vote to Drew Warsaw's 20% and Raj Goyal's 14%. That's with around 86% of estimated votes counted. Also, how are we doing here? We're doing okay. Yesterday we talked a little bit about Mike Lawler. And again, we'll read those results to you again a little bit later on. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Were you surprised by, Chris Moss is the incumbent, so I guess you would say the upset of Mark Margeson defeating Chris Moss in the primary. Now, again, in the general election, it will be no Democrat. It'll be Margeson on the Republican line, and it will be Chris Moss on the conservative line as of right now. So your thoughts on that? We had each of the candidates in numerous times on the program. We do appreciate them taking the time out so that you could go into the booth the most informed. But we mentioned Mike Lawler. Well, a U.S. Army veteran who worked in the Department of Homeland Security during the Biden administration won a crowded Democrat primary on Tuesday and will now face Mike Lawler. Kate Conley received around 52% of the vote as of last night, with 37% of ballots counted. So there's still a little bit to go. They're saying enough to secure her victory in what was effectively a three-way race between Beth Davidson and Effie Phillips Statley, according to the Associated Press. Her win sets up a key Hudson Valley battleground race as Democrats take aim at Lawler. Lawler's a two-term incumbent, but this is one of the districts that Democrats think that they may be able to flip. They consider one of the best pickup opportunities. Conley previously worked in cybersecurity in DHS before moving back to the 17th Congressional District to run for Congress. Davidson, a Rockland County legislator who tried to occupy a more moderate lane like Conley, carried just 28.3% of the vote. All right. So that'd be one to watch in the general, where Democrats believe that they may be able to flip that seat and take out Republican Mike Lawler in that district. That'll be an interesting race. Mike Lawler, as we were talking yesterday on the program, someone had asked me about him. He was originally it looked like he was going to run for governor here in New York. He is what you would call a more moderate Republican. very often you'll agree with him, and very often you won't. He's going for the more moderate, because of that district he's in, for that more moderate, as I put here, lane. So that'll be one that we watch come November. All right, we've got some other updates from around the state and from around the country. We're also going to talk a little bit here about Mamdani, because Zohran Mamdani is now considered a kind of a power broker. He endorsed 3 candidates. All 3 candidates have won. We're going to tell you what that means, what Albany is starting to look like. We already know it's one-party rule in Albany, but we just went from deep blue to even deeper blue. We're going from far-left Democrats to Democrat Socialist of America candidates, because in many of these instances, you have a scenario where it's such a Democrat-leaning district in the city that once the Democrat wins the primary, it's all over. We talked about this with Joe Semplinsky last week. It's all over. I mean, there may be a Republican challenger, but would be such an underdog. But if you have any questions about last night's vote, please feel free to weigh in. We'll be talking a little bit more about it. We'll give you another update probably in the next hour about the local races. But if you have a question, if you say, I missed you at the beginning of the program, Frank, what happened in last night's primaries here locally? Feel free to text me, and I'll either respond on air or I'll respond over text, whatever is easiest at that moment. Okay, we've got to take a short break, but there's one thing, and I know I mentioned this back when it was first announced, and I realized I haven't mentioned it since. Maybe I didn't want to get things confused with what was happening with the primaries. But our good friends at Chemung County Scope, they're holding their meeting tonight at 6:30, and this is going to be a great one. Armed Women of America, the Steuben County chapter. We've had our friends from AWA on this program a few times in the past. Bobby Jo Burdick. She's one of our earliest guests on the program, as a matter of fact. They even brought in that beautiful, if you recall, that Christmas tree for us with all the ornaments being shell casings. Well, Steuben County's Armed Women of America will be speaking tonight at Chemung County's SCOPE, which, if you're not familiar with SCOPE, it's Shooters Committee on Political Education. That's held at Pine City Sportsman's Club, 187 Mountain View Drive, Pine City, and that is tonight at 6:30. Don't miss it. It'll be chapter leader Bobby Jo Burdick and chapter co-lead Rebecca Allen. They're an amazing organization, so you won't want to miss that, especially if you're a SCOPE member, or even if not, just find out more. All right, we got to take a short break. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
What better way to start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub? Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselson's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
7 great brands at one convenient location, only here at Blaze Alexander Finley Dealerships in Mansfield. You pay what we pay. Enjoy employee pricing for all eligible brand new 2025 and 2026 Ford models. Get behind the wheel of the new Ram 1500 and save up to $10,000 off MSRP. Take advantage of 0% for 60 months on all brand new Chevy Silverado 1500 and receive $500 in gas cards with any purchase now until the end of June. Stop and shop to save some green off Route 15 in Mansfield, where we're taking the deals the other guys won't.
Looking for a meaningful day trip close to home? Visit the historic Elmira Prison Camp, one of the most significant Civil War sites in the North. Walk the grounds, stand where history happened, discover powerful stories of courage, sacrifice, and survival that shaped our nation. Whether you're a history enthusiast, a family looking to learn together, or simply exploring the Finger Lakes region, we offer an experience you won't forget. Plan your visit today at elmiracivilwar.org. Preserve, discover, remember.
Sorry about that. Having a little technical difficulty with that blank screen. But now we get to see the beautiful view of historic Marcus Street here in the heart of the Gafford District, brought to you by Voss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio. Let's get right back to it. Okay, AOC Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez easily beat her primary challenge. It was a former Wall Street executive who argued the progressive firebrand had become more focused on national politics than the needs of her New York district. Marty Dolan sought to unseat Ocasio-Cortez in New York's 14th congressional district, which includes jurisdictions in Queens and the Bronx, after serving there for 4 terms. But after the biggest U.S. city elected a socialist mayor in Zohran Mamdani, the Democrat making a more moderate bid didn't stand a chance, according to Fox News. AOC, one of the most prominent figures on the left, who's been pegged as a potential future contender for higher office. There's speculation, will she run for Chuck Schumer's Senate seat? Will she run for President of the United States? Well, the victory marks another decisive win for the Congresswoman, who first burst into the national scene in 2018 after toppling then House Democrat Caucus Chairman Joe Crowley in a stunning primary upset. Dolan's challenge came as AOC's influence within the Democrat Party continues to grow. Despite criticism from some Democrats who argue the party has drifted too far left, AOC remains a dominant force in her deep blue district, where challengers have repeatedly failed to gain significant traction. The victory comes as Ocasio-Cortez's national profile continues to grow and speculation swirls of where she's headed next. If you recall, back in June, she said, could I be president? Could I not be president? Maybe, maybe not. That's brilliant. James Carville, and I apologize, I know some people get mad when I quote James Carville, but it's interesting sometimes. He was, of course, in the Clinton administration, helped Clinton win. What he says sometimes about his own party is somewhat interesting. Well, they weighed in, James Carville and a co-host on some podcast weighed in on AOC. The co-host, Al Hunt, and James Carville, both staunch Democrats, they've warned time and time again that the party needs to shift away from far-left policies and social agendas if they want to win elections. When one of the listeners noted increasing talk of AOC running as a 2028 contender, asking if America is ready for a female president, Al Hunt, offered a 2-pronged answer. He said, I don't think AOC will be the nominee or the next president. I think she is a formidable communicator and figure. The Democratic Party is not a left-wing party. Republicans love to paint Mamdani and look at others, and they'll pick the new Washington mayor as a socialist. But the Democrat Party is a mainstream progressive party, and AOC will be a force, but she's not going to be that kind of force. As for whether a woman can win, he argued this is entirely possible, but as with a candidate of any identity, he said quality is what counts, saying, quote, the country is ready for a female president if we put up a good candidate. We have not put up a good female candidate, and I don't know that that'll be the case in 2028 or 32. As with other identities, such as black, Jewish, or gay contenders, they can win in state houses, and I think with the right candidate, they do it in the national level too. Carville said, well, also Hillary lost because of a fluke, distributional fluke. She carried the popular vote relatively easy, and she had bad distribution, bad turnout. Harris did not lose because she was a female. She did not lose because she was a female, a non-white female. The reason Harris lost, according to James Carville, was because she was seen as a continuation of the status quo of the Biden era. Carville went on to say that while he is proud of the fact Democrats can nominate a diverse array of candidates, they must focus first and foremost on setting aside identity concerns and focus on electability, saying, quote, so I think a female could easily win. It almost happened before. It kind of should have happened. No, the Electoral College is how the game's played. But anyway, but also I don't think that the party's going to care if we nominate a white male either. I think that the lust for winning is just to get somebody that can win this blanking thing. and will worry about everything else after. So get somebody that can win this blanking thing. That's what James Carville's thought on a possible AOC run. Now, Democrat Governor Wes Moore of Maryland, who some also see as a potential 2028 Democrat candidate for president, is one step closer to winning re-election this year. Moore captured the Democrat gubernatorial nomination in the solidly blue Mid-Atlantic state, according to the Associated Press. Moore and his running mate, Lieutenant Governor Aruna Miller, easily dispatched a primary challenger, Eric Felber, and his running mate. Felber, a physician, unsuccessfully challenged Jamie Raskins in a 2024 primary in the state's 8th congressional district. Thank you, Maryland. Your vote made this all happen, and I'm proud to be your Democrat nominee for governor again. The work does not stop now, said Moore. The Democrat ticket will face a winner of a 9-way Republican primary field. So Moore has been his name thrown around as well. We have all these people whose names, this is that time of year, I guess, as we near the midterm, almost halfway through Trump's second term, where you start to see all these supposed 2028 contenders for president. Who knows? Next will be throwing around Mom Donnie's name. The way he's the golden child this morning. Mom Donnie-backed candidates ousted Democrat establishment incumbents. It was a full far-left Democrat Socialist of America sweep. His influence growing. We're going to talk about that when we return. If you missed the results from the local election, you have any questions, please text in. Keep those waves, keep those comments coming in. I know it's a little bit different because we're we're reading all the results from last night, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. We do have a couple updates on Iran, a few things here about New York, if we're able to get to them, and then just some things about the Republican Party and the Democrat parties, both in general. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Speed like you've never seen. 6 hours that feels more like a sprint. It's Salin's 6 Hours of the Glen, June 25th through the 28th, where the sport's top drivers go head-to-head on one of the most scenic road courses in racing. Get your tickets at theglen.com today.
When you visit Carpenters, Phillips, and Flint's, our goal is to always make every family feel like they're at home. Our 3 locations each have their own unique qualities to them, so when a family comes to us at the time of need, we have the options.
Every family we serve is different, and what they're looking for is different. We have to be able to allow the family to tell their story, and everyone's story is unique to them.
Visit carpentersphillipsflint.com to learn more about our family-owned funeral homes.
Wedding and prom season is here, so plan to dress to impress. Make Tallman's and Painted Post your first and only stop on your list. With hundreds of styles to choose from, ranging from classic to contemporary, Tallman's has the perfect tux to fit you and your budget. This just in, save 25 to 75% off all remaining women's wear. You don't want to miss this once-in-a-lifetime sale, so hurry in for the best selection and unbeatable prices while they last. That's Tallman's in Painted Post.
Kids time. Ask them how they're feeling and listen.
Don't let us you by. It's Salin's 6 Hours of the Glen, June 25th through the 28th. A full weekend full of can't-miss moments. From the grid to the garage, make every moment count. Get your tickets and
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Thank you so much for joining us. So Mom Donnie did it again. Already a surprise when he won mayor. Now he's throwing around his political weight. A trio of Mom Donnie endorsed far-left socialist congressional candidates won their primaries over more moderate incumbents and rivals. Mamdani was the biggest winner on Tuesday, but President Trump also covered his bases as New York, Maryland, Utah, and South Carolina held primaries and runoff elections. Now, what we learned last night, our Democrats are lurching far to the left. The mayor's most shocking victory came in New York's 13th congressional district, where Mamdani-backed candidate Daraliza Avalar Chevalier, a 32-year-old community organizer and a Democratic socialist, narrowly topped incumbent Democrat Adrian Espaillat, the 71-year-old Congressional Hispanic Caucus chair and the first Dominican-American elected to the U.S. House. Now, keep in mind, Espaillat was endorsed by people like Governor Hochul and the establishment. In the race to succeed retiring Democrat Representative Nydia Velquez, Mamdani endorsed State Assembly member Claire Valdez, who is also aligned with the Democrat Socialists of America, downed Brooklyn Borough President Antonio Renos by double digits. Valdez said in declaring victory tonight, "We haven't just won an election. We have declared that this movement is durable, that it is growing, and that it will not stop until working people are no longer asked to just build the table, no longer just offered a seat at the table, but will run the table." And a third Mamdani-backed congressional candidate, progressive Brad Lander, crushed incumbent Democrat Representative Dan Goldman. We talked about Goldman yesterday when he was attacked for, and this is one of the reasons why he lost last night, attacked for being pro-Israel. Scary the direction that the Democrat Party is headed with this rise in kind of anti-Semitic thoughts and policies. It is very troubling. But again, Brad Lander, should be noted, is Jewish. And he said, you can criticize Israel and not be anti-Semitic. You can be anti-Zionist and not be anti-Semitic, he said in his victory speech. It was a risky bet for Mamdani just 6 months into his tenure to take on the establishment, but he comes out of the primary as an emboldened kingmaker in the party, recently saying that the Democrat Party must change. And on Tuesday night at the Valdez primary celebration, the mayor said, "Let's hear it for a politics that will never forget working people, for a politics that is ready to write a new chapter in our party's history, and for a politics that realizes the old politics that got us to this crisis is not the politics that's going to get us out of this crisis." Ooh. Progressive Representative Ro Khanna of California said that these results show we have a new party, but the results also show or give Republicans more ammunition to use Mamdani as a cudgel as they work to hold their razor-thin House majority in this year's midterm election. Quote, "Tonight wasn't just a bad night for so-called leader Hakeem Jeffries." Wow, so-called leader. This is what I like that. This was a National Republican Congressional Committee, but they're right. How is Hakeem Jeffries a leader? But anyway, tonight wasn't just a bad night for so-called leader Hakeem Jeffries. It was the night the Democrat establishment officially surrendered to Zohran Mamdani and the socialist wing of the party. Every House Democrat in safe and competitive districts alike will now answer to the radicals calling the shots. And Americans should be terrified by where the Democrat Party is headed. Now, we also have the power, that should be noted, of the Trump endorsement. That being tested again, and the media loves to make hay out of that. But this time, because Trump did good, and he normally does, but just because they don't want to report on that, they instead focus on Mamdani's big win. Trump-backed first-time candidate Anthony Costantino, a businessman and former boxer. He defeated Robert Smullen, a retired Marine Corps colonel and a New York assemblyman who had the backing of the state party in the upstate New York race to succeed Elise Stefanik. Meanwhile, in South Carolina's Republican gubernatorial runoff, Trump couldn't lose. He endorsed both. State Attorney General Alan Wilson defeated Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evett in a landslide. Trump endorsed Evett late last month, a week and a half before the gubernatorial primary. that finish on the, you don't need to know about all that. But that's going to be an interesting race to watch with that Anthony Costantino for Elise Stefanik's Old C. I saw her post last night that it's all over. She said, I know this district like the back of my hand, and he's won this thing. He is the one that put up the Trump sign, the big Trump sign on his business, and they were trying to force him in his town to take it down. He's going to be one to watch. So that's kind of another quick overview. But man, what a big night for Mom Donnie. With the Chevalier race being considered an AOC style upset, they went after incumbents. They went after pretty solid Democrat, obviously Democrat candidates. So now you have the Democrat Socialist of America candidates that will be in these races. It's going to be quite a messaging campaign when it comes closer to the general election. Bruce Blakeman, our candidate for New York State Governor, running against Kathy Hochul. Bruce Blakeman, the Republican candidate, saying the Hochul-Mamdani lunatic wing of the Democrat Party has made it less affordable and less safe to live in New York. I'm asking common sense Democrats to join our cause to save New York from the socialist, anti-American communists and restore normalcy to our state. Again, that is gubernatorial candidate Bruce Blakeman. Okay, again, if you are just joining us, I'm sure you're aware by now. Let's read these quick. Locally, at the Chemung County level, Mark Margison defeating incumbent Chris Moss 55.55% to 44.29%. At District 1 at the legislature, LaWanna Morse defeating Brent Tarantino 58 to 41%. County legislator in District 3, Tom Sweet defeating Donald Ziegler 69.56% to 30.44%. County legislator in District 5, Nicole Elston defeating Kenneth Miller 57.67% to 41.77%. And here we go. Again, I'm going to keep saying it all morning, why it is important for you to get out. I'm not lecturing you if you went out and voted. I apologize. But to get out and vote in the primary or in any election. Look at this race. And there's absentees to come in like that. But in District 6, Joseph Donovan, 49.85%. Kyle Weeder, 49.85%. That means they're tied at 169 votes each, and someone had put a write-in. If that person had actually chosen, they would have been kind of the kingmaker, the Mom Donnie, I guess you would, of that race. Also in Steuben, Norman Maynard defeating Jeffrey Horton, 61.78% to 37.84%. Corningtown Justice, Wendelin Van Zyl defeating Randy Dye, 58.26% to 40.87%. For Irwintown Council, Heather Ford defeating Elisa Trosha, 61 to 37%. Lindleytown Supervisor Patrick Clark defeating Roger Reap, 76% to 23%. Lindley Superintendent Dylan Hill defeating Carlos Plumley, 65 to 34%. And finally, Rathbone Town Council member Kevin Clark defeating Mary Catherine Cole, 71 to 28. All right. We got to take another short break. We're going to tell you more about these DSA candidates. We're going to move along from that. A little bit about Mamdani, a little bit about New York. I know this is kind of that weird morning after the elections, the primary elections, where we're reading a lot of numbers, but we are glad that you joined us. Keep those waves, keep those comments coming in. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. Oh, tell me your thoughts, too, about, I guess you would call it an upset, Margison defeating Moss last night. Again, should be noted, Moss is on the conservative line, so that means he will still be on the ballot come November. Stay with us.
Speed like you've never seen. 6 hours that feels more like a sprint. It's Sailin' 6 Hours of the Glen, June 25th through the 28th, where the sport's top drivers go head-to-head on one of the most scenic road courses in racing. Get your tickets at theglen.com today.
When you visit Carpenters, Phillips, and Flint's, our goal is to always make every family feel like they're at home. Our 3 locations each have their own unique qualities to them, so when a family comes to us at the time of need, we have the options.
Every family we serve is different, and what they're looking for is different. We have to be able to allow the family to tell their story, and everyone's story is unique to them.
Visit carpentersphillipsflint.com to learn more about our family-owned funeral homes.
Gentlemen, wedding and prom season is here, so plan to dress to impress. Make Tallman's and Painted Post your first and only stop on your list. With hundreds of styles to choose from, ranging from classic to contemporary, Tallman's has the perfect tux to fit you and your budget. This just in, save 25 to 75% off all remaining women's wear. You don't want to miss this once-in-a-lifetime sale, so hurry in for the best selection and unbeatable prices while they last. That's Tallman's in Painted Post.
Kids time. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
Don't let it pass you by. It's Salem 6 Hours of the Glen, June 25th through the 28th. A full weekend full of can't-miss moments. From the grid to the garage, make every moment count. Get your tickets into
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. So the Deep Blue Empire State got hit by a socialist, weird way of putting this by the New York Post, but red wave. I get why they say red. Nearly all DSA candidates were poised to best an incumbent and establishment Democrats in state legislative primary races. So we talk about the congressional endorsements. We talk about Mamdani and this far left culture in the Democrat Party. 7 of the 8 Democrat Socialists of America endorsed candidates were set to win their primary elections, boosting the left-wing group's numbers to 14 from 9 in Albany. So if you thought Albany, we know Albany's already bad, add to that we now have even more socialists heading to the one-party rule. If all of Tuesday's results hold and the likely victors succeed in the November general election, Mayor Zohran Mamdani's DSA comrades will hold 4 seats in the 63-seat state Senate and 10 districts in the 150-seat state assembly. So let me read that again so I don't get us tongue-tied. DSA members will hold 4 seats in the 63-seat state Senate and 10 districts in the 150-seat state assembly. Republicans currently hold 22 state Senate seats and 47 districts in the assembly. Wow. Talk about one-party rule, huh? Republicans at 22 in the Senate out of 63. Wow. 3 incumbent Democrats in Brooklyn and Queens, Commie Corridor, as it's called, lost to DSA insurgents, including Assemblyman Eric Dillon, Assemblywoman Stefani Zinnerman, and Assemblywoman Jennifer Rajkumar, according to early vote totals. Anyway, we don't need to go through each name. And we don't have to go through each person. I think you get the idea. They're already signed up to be endorsed, or they are already endorsed, I worded that strangely, by Democrat Socialists of America. So Albany getting even farther left. And a little bit, I just want you to take a look at this and think for a second. When we talk about, Blakeman or Republicans winning statewide, when you talk about the city, think of how far left the city has become. That they're now actively supporting socialism, whether it's Mamdani, whether it's these candidates. So that's why when we talk about Blakeman, who's doing a great job, he's got to get into our area a little bit more, but doing a great job saying all the right things. But he still has to overcome that huge, huge hurdle of the downstate vote. Like that viewer always writes in, that's why we need to be the 51st state. I know. But as of right now, that's why it gets kind of frustrating, and I think so many Republicans get jaded. And sadly, I think that's why the turnout very often isn't that high in New York State with Republicans, because they get so defeated. When you have one-party rule in Albany and you see these wild and wacky, like the attacks on ICE and the attacks that ultimately lead to worse public safety, these type of things that we talk about so often. But I want to continue here. Brad Lander, who won last night, defeating a more moderate-ish Democrat, Dan Goldman. Brad Lander said that the win says Democrat voters want to reset the U.S. relationship with Israel. And then he said he's unsure that Senator John Fetterman is in our party anymore, to be honest. So what he did is he came out and he said what we've been saying for so long on this program, that he believes his win signals that the Democrats want to reset our relationship with Israel, meaning no longer being an ally, no longer being a friend to Israel. We've seen like Van Jones said, and it's only gotten worse, the marbling of anti-Semitism in the Democrat Party. Lander began by saying, this was on CNN, that Democrat voters want leaders who are going to fight, not just Donald Trump, but the billionaires who are rigging the economy against us. And that's what I think tonight's election is about. Candidates who have won prior primaries are progressive candidates who say we want to see a Democrat Party that's fighting harder. We shouldn't be taking corporate PAC money from Wall Street and crypto and AI and APAC. We got to fight harder for working families and have people see us fighting for them. And we have to reset the U.S. relationship with Israel. Lander further stated that he's running against a corporate incumbent Democrat to say voters want change on a range of issues, on corporate money, on fighting, on housing and health care, and yes, on not sending any more money for Netanyahu's war. He added that the issue isn't really progressive versus moderate, it's fighters and folders. So Caitlin Collins asked him, so when Fetterman calls your wing of the party the dirtbag left, you're saying he's wrong? Lander, what a corny question there. Lander said, I'm not sure if Fetterman is in our party anymore, to be honest. Democrats are having primaries to determine what kind of candidates we want to put on the field. And there'll be a diverse array of candidates because they reflect and represent a diverse array of districts. Primaries are a time to have those fights out. And then, as we head toward the fall, it's a time of unity. I will try to be a force of unity. I hope Senator Fetterman will stop attacking other Democrats and decide to rejoin the fold. But if he wants to leave the party, we've got a lot of great fighters who can show up and fight for working families. All right. There you go. And again, he said it again. And I do think it says Democrat voters want to reset the U.S. relationship with Israel. They don't want a foreign policy that compromises on anyone's humanity. Do you think that's become a litmus test in your party to a degree? Lander said, well, I don't know that it's a litmus test. There's still a majority of Democrats who take money from AIPAC, and a majority of Democrats in the House, at least, have continued to vote for military aid. I think it says Democrat voters want to see that change. Again, then asked the question, do you agree with how Mayor Mamdani described AIPAC when he was out on the campaign trail? Not to telling their viewers at CNN what Mamdani said, just do you agree with him? Lander said, look, there are voters who have a lot of concerns with AIPAC and the way, but that's true of other super PACs as well, that spend money in dark ways, that don't even talk clearly about the issues that they're focused on. So it was an important part of my campaign. At the same time, like I'm a proud Jewish New Yorker, anti-Semitism is surging. It's important for us to be clear that the Democrat Party is not going to compromise on anyone's human rights, not Palestinians in Gaza, and not Jews in New York City or the United States of America. Like, that's not two separate jobs. That's the same job. Van Jones CNN's senior political commentator, worked in the Obama administration. He was on CNN's The Source, and he reacted to Brad Lander's primary win over Dan Goldman, saying that the Mamdani phenomenon is not a one-guy thing. The Democratic Socialists are an insurgency in this party. This is a serious movement inside the Democrat Party. The left is on the march. The revolution is being televised. That's what I make of it. The Mamdani phenomenon is not a one-guy thing. The Democrat Socialists are an insurgency in this party. We'll see what happens in New York 13. But I think people who thought this was going to be a kind of a cute guy off to the side, there's a huge infrastructure here. There's a movement here. There's passion here. And people who don't like it are going to have to wake up and smell the coffee. This is a serious movement inside the Democrat Party. The left is on the march. So Van Jones is suggesting that the far left, in a way, is taking over the Democrat Party, that this is not something that the establishment Democrats can take lightly or laugh at. I don't think it's something that Republicans can take lightly or laugh at, where you see the crazy statements, very often anti-Semitic statements, and say, well, good, in November, they'll lose to a Republican. Not always the case, folks. So it's something we have to watch very closely. But we have to take a short break. You heard the Corning whistle. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
Out here, control is everything. At Young's Tires, we install BF Goodrich truck tires that bite harder, pull stronger, and keep you moving. When gravel shifts, when the surface fights for control, you don't. Dirt, gravel, mud, doesn't matter. This isn't about just getting there. It's about owning every mile. Get equipped. Get moving. Get to Young's Tires today.
The chemology program at Corning Community College gives students the flexibility to do much of their coursework on their own schedule.
If you're trying to make a change in your life, this is a great opportunity.
It's been really, really awesome. We're still getting plenty of labs, hands-on experience. It really does feel like the best of both worlds.
As like an adult learner, I know what I want, I know where I want to work. The ChemTech program is helping me get there.
Where you start matters. We are here to help you succeed and get to where you want to be.
Meteorologist Brandon Weathers will top off around 78 today with some sunshine. A very pleasant day ahead of us and staying dry in the overnight hours with a low around 54, topping off then around 80 for our Thursday. Scattered showers and some rumbles of thunder possible. More showers on Friday, and in terms of temperatures, it'll be into the start of next week that things trend on the warm side of average, with temperatures swinging back toward
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Ken writes in, watch your back. I'm sure you know that you're one of the platforms standing in the way of the Democrat Socialist movement. Well, thank you, Ken. Many media outlets for the activist wing of the Democrat Party. Only a few outlets telling the truth. Thank you, Ken. Always something we take very seriously, because it is the Democrat Socialist. That group is not only pushing anti-Semitism, pushing that kind of hatred, pushing radicalization and socialism, obviously, but they are also a very violent and destructive group as well. Now, Democrat strategist Melissa DeRosa accused the Democratic Socialist candidates and politicians like Zohran Mamdani's of being parasites who leech off and could kill the political party. DeRosa said this on Special Report with Brett Baer on Monday night. They are not Democrats. They are socialists. They are parasites, the former Andrew Cuomo chief of staff said. They cannot win on their own by creating their own party, so they're going to latch onto the Democrat Party and feed off of it with the overall goal of taking it over and killing it. So that's what the Democrat Socialist of America is doing. They started this in 2016 with Bernie and Hillary. AOC then gets elected in 2018. You see the introduction of the squad and what's been happening since then. This year, they do feel like it's their big opportunity. They're going for broke. You don't see them trying to win purple or red seats. You see them trying to pick off Democrats in safe blue seats. She's got a good point. You won't hear me say that about Melissa DeRosa very often. We talked about her in the past. There was thoughts of her running for governor at one point, or thoughts of her running for some elected office. She was, as I said, Andrew Cuomo's chief of staff. DeRosa pointed to Cavalier's campaign as an example. She remarked that Cavalier is challenging Espaillat, the Congressional Hispanic Caucus chair, who has a 100% voting record with the Democrat Party. But he is not a socialist. He is not an anti-Semite. He believes in public safety. He believes in opportunity and innovation and capitalism. And for that, they are trying to off him, which they did, by the way. Yes, it's a terrible thing for a Democrat Party. And if they're successful in taking over, then I think it's going to set the party back decades. Again, the point in that they're a parasite, she's right. They could not win on their own. They could not win with just Democrat Socialists of America on the ballot. So they are kind of sucking the life out of, if you will, the Democrat Party. Interesting. Kind of a level-headed look at that from a far-left Democrat. But I think it's a point that was worth making. They are not Democrats. They are socialists, and they are parasites. They cannot win on their own by creating their own party, so they're going to latch on to the Democrat Party and feed off it with the overall goal of taking it over and killing it. All right, we got to take another short break. We're going to tie this in, and we talk about the anti-Semitism that's happening in New York City. We mentioned yesterday about that coffee shop going after Dan Goldman, who ultimately lost. We're going to tie that in. So bear with me. We're going to talk a little bit about that, give you some updates on that, and then tie that in with what's happening with Mamdani and the Democrat Socialists of America. This is not going to be our only topic this morning, but I think it is a very important message. I hope you agree. So keep those comments, keep those waves coming in. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
On board Rocky Mountaineer, your journey through the Canadian Rocky Mountains is like no other. One moment you're surrounded by towering giants. You've never felt so small. The next moment, you've never felt so taken care of. Now that's a journey worth taking. Rocky Mountaineer.
William Mattar isn't like other attorneys.
William, you should see this police show that I saw last night. It was really great.
Do they investigate any car crashes?
He eats, breathes, and dreams of helping people after a car crash.
Wow, good crash! Tommy, there are no good crashes. Yep, that's a late model pickup and a parallel twin motorcycle.
That's uncanny. And his clients love the results. Hurt in a car? Call William Mattar.
At Simmons Rockwell, you'll find brand new 2026 Chrysler Pacifica Select all-wheel drive passenger vans for only $44,174 during the Make This a Summer sales event going on now at Simmons Rockwell Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News. Kids time. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
When I was in law school, my father had to stop working when he developed early Alzheimer's. Social Security disability benefits saved my parents financially. I'm Peter Gorton of Lockman & Gorton. Now I'm a lawyer who helps people when they need Social Security disability. If you can't work, I'd like to help.
For a free consultation, call Lockman & Gorton toll-free 1-800-698-0567.
Hi, meteorologist Brandon Weathers. We'll top off around 78 today with some sunshine. A very pleasant day ahead of us and staying dry in the overnight hours with a low around 54, topping off then around 80 for our Thursday. Scattered showers and some rumbles of thunder possible. More showers on Friday, and in terms of temperatures, it'll be into the start of next week that things trend on the warm side of average, with temperatures swinging back toward
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. We talked about the New York City coffee shop that was attacking Representative Dan Goldman, who actually ended up losing last night, for his support of Israel. Well, the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division has opened an investigation into a woke coffee shop that denied service to a pro-Israel politician and warned an enforcement action could be coming. And what they did is they sent him a refund and said that they never wanted him to come back again, or they wouldn't have served him. Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights Harmeet Dillon said federal law prohibits public accommodations such as coffee shops from discriminating against patrons based on their race, religion, or national origin. These actions are not only reprehensible, they're potentially illegal. The Civil Rights Division has opened an investigation and will bring an enforcement action if warranted. The coffee shop, again, that we talked about yesterday, Poetica Coffee, raked Dan Goldman over the coals in an unhinged social media rant on Sunday for the crime of purchasing a cup of coffee at the location, even though if you go on their website they say everybody's welcome. And that's what I know. I've joked about this on the program in the past. But when you see a sign that says this is a safe space, I wouldn't walk into that business or that building with a MAGA hat. I know they say they're a safe space, but I would avoid that safe space if you have a MAGA hat. And the same goes here. They're saying that everybody is welcome, everybody will be served, and yet they call him, they say, hey, Congressman Dan Goldman, we see that you stopped by our coffee shop for coffee. Do you see how it doesn't taste like genocide juice? Or are you still having a hard time telling the difference? See, here at Poetica, we don't serve racists, fascists, homophobes, genocide enablers, or anyone in between. Too bad we didn't recognize you right away, or we would have turned you away. We issued a refund. We don't need your money. It's probably coming from AIPAC anyway. Enjoy your loss on Tuesday. He did lose. Don't ever come to Poetica. Now keep in mind, their website says the shop has unconditional dignity for everyone. The guest is sacred because the act of welcoming is how a community keeps itself intact. The shop also claims on its site that whoever walks through the door is treated with unconditional dignity, not as a customer, not as a transaction, as someone who arrived and deserves to be welcomed. There you go. All right. We got to take a break and get ready for hour number 2. We're going to read you those results again. That's the kind of show it is this morning. What did you think? Were you surprised by the upset, Mark Margison defeating Chris Moss? Now, it is important to remember, incumbent Chris Moss will be on the conservative line come November, so that race is not completely over, though this was the biggest hurdle for Margison and probably ultimately a win overall. We're going to tell you about some of the other races, but I would love to hear your thoughts. Stay with us. Hour number 2 coming up next. We'll be right back.
Servview Credit Union is proud to be celebrating 70 years of serving members in our communities. And what better way to celebrate than to pass along some savings to you? Now through September 30th, take 0.70% APR off our current auto loan rates. And we're gifting a $70 gift card to all auto loans over $10,000 to help buy your first tank of gas. Apply in person, online, or over the phone, and start enjoying the benefits of teaming up with Servview Credit Union. Thank you for giving us the chance to serve you since 1956.
Tens of thousands of
New Yorkers live in nursing homes and long-term care facilities. They're neighbors, friends, and family members. When they feel their well-being is jeopardized, the Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program is there to help. Ombudsmen educate, empower, and advocate for long-term care residents. They investigate complaints, resolve issues, and facilitate improvements. Long-term care residents or their loved ones who have questions or concerns should contact AIM Independent Living Center at 962-8225.
Every has a community, a neighborhood, school, place of worship, or other chosen groups. Communities can provide support when you need it, including helping your kids avoid underage drinking and other substance use. Learn more at talktheyhearyou.samhsa.gov.
You're watching Big Fox, WYDC TV, Elmira Corning.
Frankly Speaking, here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on Marcus Street in Corning. Let's kick off hour number 2 with this amazing text from a viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning to you. Have a beautiful day. Well, I hope you have a beautiful day as well. Love Frankly Speaking, and I tell friends and family about you. Well, that's very kind. Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. That's a nice way to kick off hour number 2. You made my day. All right, last night, Mark Margison upset Chris Moss for Chemung County Executive. Mark Margison at 55.55%, with Chris Moss at 44.29%. I do want to highlight, and this is not just about this race, this is about Chemung and Steuben. The turnout was rather dismal. You're looking Chemung, Margison receiving 2,482 to Moss's 1,979. For District 1 of the county legislature, LaWanna Morris defeated Brent Tarantino 58.64% to 41.36%. For County Legislator District 3, Tom Sweet defeated Donald Ziegler 69.56% to 30.44%. For District 5, Nicole Elston defeating Kenneth Miller 57.61% to 41.77%. And finally, again, screaming it from the rooftops, the reason why it is so important for you to vote and get out and vote. Kyle Weeder in District 6 at 49.85%. Joseph Donovan at 49.85%. Both receiving, as of this morning, and this will change with absentee and the like, 169 to 169. That means if this one person who did a write-in would have decided who they liked more between the two, they would have been the kingmaker. They would have been the Mamdani. But 169 to 169, we'll keep an eye on that. Now, Mark Marginson saying last night that tonight is really about all the people who volunteered and helped, not about me. This win was the result of a large team effort. Hundreds who put up lawn signs, made phone calls, hosted us for events, and I'm very grateful to those who joined us with their votes today. Our fight for our home and a better future for our children and grandchildren continues on. We will continue bringing people together to solve problems across Chemung County. Now, in Steuben County, again, the number's dismal. Turnout in all of Steuben County, 2,938 votes. That is 4.5% of registered voters got out to vote yesterday as of 9:30 after the polls had closed. 4.5%. Now for Campbell Town Supervisor, Norman Maynard defeated Jeffrey Horton 160 to 98 in the votes, so 61% for Norman Maynard. Jeffrey Horton, 37.84%. For Corning Town Justice, Wendelin Van Zyl defeating Randy Dye. Van Zyl at 58.26%. Randy Dye at 40.87%. For Irwin Town Council, Heather Ford defeated Elisa Trosha. Heather Ford at 61.38%, Elisa Trosha at 37.59%. Lindley Town Supervisor, Patrick Clark defeating Roger Reap, 76.32% to 23.16%. And Lindley Superintendent of Highways, Dylan N. Hill, defeating Carlos Plumley, 65.59% to 34.41%. And finally, Rathbone Town Council, Kevin Clark tops Mary Catherine Cole, 71.62% to 28.38%. There you go. If you missed any of that, feel free to text in. I'll type on the side. Also, for our Democrat friends, Aaron Geese was victorious over Kevin Stocker in the primary for the Democrat nomination to run in the 23rd Congressional District against Representative Nick Langworthy. With around 80% of the votes counted, Geese had 71.6% of the vote to Stocker's 28.1%. And in the race for the Democrat nomination for state comptroller, incumbent Tom DiNapoli easily defeats his challengers. DiNapoli had 65% of the vote to Drew Warsaw's 20%, and Raj Goyal's 14%. There you go. All right. So, and as we mentioned, Mamdani had a big night. The candidates he endorsed were victorious as well. Okay. So we're talking about that coffee shop where the DOJ is now looking into it because they're refusing service to Jewish members, Israel supporters, I should say. The far-left owners of anti-Israel New York City coffee shop calls the U.S. ally Nazi Germany of our time, saying, quote, Israel is the Nazi Germany of current time. He also has a knack of somehow spinning the Holocaust into anti-Israel narratives. In response to a heartbreaking photo of an emaciated young girl wearing an Auschwitz prisoner uniform taken moments before she was executed, the owner of the coffee shop said, this is a horrible story. That is why it is important we talk against the genocide Israel is committing against Palestinians. Saying that the war on Hamas was never about hostages or about security. We don't need to read that filth and that garbage. But like Michael Goodwin said at the New York Post, and this is how I tie it all in with our conversation we were having in the last hour about Mamdani, his silence in the face of this vile anti-Semitism speaks volumes about who Mamdani is. Mayor Mamdani's outrageous hide-and-seek reaction after a Brooklyn coffee shop taunted Representative Daniel Goldman over his support for Israel and banned him from their coffee shop location in Park Slope. The owner, I've already read the comments that the owner had made. Goldman's Democratic primary opponent, Brad Lander, had the decency to condemn the shop's actions, saying there are plenty of ways to lobby elected officials and express outrage without turning coffee shops into places people don't feel welcome. Mamdani, who endorsed Lander in that race, sat out of this mess until he finally opened his mouth Tuesday, only to say as close to nothing as is humanly possible. Asked by a reporter whether he approved of the owner's conduct, Mayor Mamdani said, I have many political disagreements with Congressman Goldman when it comes to his votes and his views on Israel. What we saw online goes beyond that. What's that? That's it? That's all you have? What does that even mean? It is impossible to escape the conclusion that Mamdani won't condemn the owner's behavior because it aligns with his own bigotry. He doesn't want to condemn it because it aligns with his own beliefs. Despite getting an estimated 1/3 of Jewish voters last year, the mayor is seemingly on a quest to normalize this Jew hatred. He says he will not visit Israel because he doesn't believe it should exist as a Jewish homeland. And last month, he became the first mayor in 6 decades to skip the Israel Day parade. Moreover, he still refuses to condemn 2 chants often taken up by anti-Israel protesters. One is called to globalize the Intifada. The other is from the river to the sea. Palestine will be free. Both effectively call for the elimination of Israel. As such, it should not be a heavy lift for the mayor of the city with the world's largest Jewish population to rule them out of bounds. But he won't do that, and also says he would arrest Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu if he sets foot in the city. He cites as justification an indictment of the UN International Criminal Court, even though the United States does not recognize the court's jurisdiction. Yet nothing reveals the mayor's double standard as much as imagining his reaction if the coffee shop had banned a Muslim patron, or a black one, or an Asian, Latino, or transgender customer. In all those cases, the mayor would have rushed to a press conference where he would have mounted on his high horse and, surrounded by his socialist comrades, denounced hate and trotted out his warmth of collectivism gibberish. But his silence in this case does not come in a vacuum. His time as mayor has made it an open season on Jews and Israel. In those cases alone, hate is acceptable because it fits his radical agenda. He's comfortable in the anti-Semitic gutter, as when he called members of the American Israel Public Affairs Committee monsters last week and said they moved millions in dark money to accomplish a single goal, to preserve their power so that they could turn us against one another. The remarks followed AIPAC donations to the opponents running against his chosen Democrat socialist candidates. So only the funders of the opponents running against his cronies have nefarious motives. His AIPAC smear sparked condemnation from some Jewish leaders and advocacy groups who accused him of spewing centuries-old anti-Semitic bile. Yet he defended himself by digging a deeper hole, as when he said, "When I am speaking about AIPAC, I'm speaking about an organization that has been supportive of the status quo, that has fought any attempt to actually deliver safety to people, not just in Palestine, but frankly through much of the region, and it is a status quo for immorality," and pointed to Israel's operations in Gaza as an example. And when it comes to the way in which they defend the status quo, oftentimes they defend it through direct contributions, as we're seeing right now in New York. Now, none of that makes any sense, nor does it justify his prejudice. Sadly, Mamdani has not been alone in not talking about this Goldman case. Governor Hochul, who was desperate to keep Mamdani supporters in her corner, apparently including the anti-Semites, has gone missing in action, as have other city and state Democrats. Attorney General Letitia James never misses the chance to grab a headline when she can blast a business or anyone with a conservative bent, but has been silent on this one. Also, city public advocate Jamon Williams has been in hiding and has nothing to say. They are all shamed by Harmeet Dillon, Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights in the Department of Justice. She said she already opened a probe into the incident and will bring an enforcement action if warranted. New Jersey Representative Josh Gottheimer said swap AIPAC for Jews, and it's the oldest anti-Semitic conspiracy theory in the book. That's not criticizing a lobby. That's laundering anti-Semitism from your podium as the mayor of a city with more than 1 million Jews. This baloney is dangerous. Civic groups, are also responding to the coffee shop's blatant prejudice against Goldman, with a group calling itself End Jew Hatred, announcing that it will hold a rally outside the shop to make sure that the discrimination does not become a new normal. The rise of anti-Semitism is primarily a feature of the far left, but not exclusively. Whatever its source, its growth is a disgraceful aspect of our contentious era. Although America is still a far more welcoming and safer home for Jews than Europe, New York is not alone in seeing dramatic spikes in hatred and targeted violence against Jews. In such cases, we naturally look for political leaders to condemn the ancient hatred, but Mamdani has forfeited that role and revealed his own dark soul. The stain was obvious before he was elected, but incidents like this one dash any hope he would grow in office. He shows not the slightest evidence that he's willing or wants to change. Shame on him. I thought that was a very good piece by Michael Goodwin. Now, Jewish rights groups are urging the Trump administration to probe Mamdani and New York City officials over their failure to protect against this anti-Semitic hatred. National Jewish Advocacy Center is asking the administration to look into the discriminatory failure to protect Jewish residents from anti-Semitic hate. This coming after that coffee shop made those statements. The National Jewish Advocacy Center writes to request that the Civil Rights Division open an investigation under its pattern or practice authority into whether the City of New York and the New York City Police Department are denying Jewish New Yorkers the equal protection of the law by failing to protect them against a documented and severe wave of anti-Semitic violence. Listen to this. According to NYPD data, Jewish New Yorkers were the victims of 330 reported hate crimes last year, or 57% of the total hate crimes. while Jews account for just 1 of every 10 New York residents. That's more than 6 a week. This referral asks the division to answer why the city's response to the record, response to that record runs in the opposite direction from the data. So we'll keep an eye on that, but it seems like they always get away with it. Mamdani actually winning those huge races that he endorsed in. We do have a couple things we have to move on from that, but feel free if you have any questions about the local races. What were your thoughts about the Mark Marginson Moss vote where Marginson defeated Moss? I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. But we have to take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Gentlemen, wedding and prom season is here, so plan to dress to impress. Make Tallman's and Painted Post your first and only stop on your list. With hundreds of styles to choose from, ranging from classic to contemporary, Tallman's has the perfect tux to fit you and your budget. This just in, save 25 to 75% off all remaining women's wear. You don't want to miss this once-in-a-lifetime sale, so hurry in for the best selection and unbeatable prices while they last. That's Tallman's in Painted Post.
I had to pack up all my things. I had to leave my home. And I never knew where I was going next. It felt like I never even had a say. But then you came along.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you. Learn how you can help at nationalcasagal.org.
Make this summer event. Drive home a Ram 1500 and save over $6,400. Plus, get 2.9% for 72 months or 4.9% for 84. Or save $9,000 on a Ram 2500 Tradesman. And this comes with the best powertrain warranty in the business. 10 years, 100,000 miles. Or save over $7,400 on 3 remaining 25 Jeep Grand Cherokees. And just announced, go topless and save $7,400 on a 26 Jeep Wrangler. As always, get the highest trade-in values. Period. Chilson Wilcox. Selling cars a different way. The right way.
Meteorologist Brandon Weathers will top off around 78 today with some sunshine. A very pleasant day ahead of us and staying dry in the overnight hours with a low around 54, topping off then around 80 for our Thursday. Scattered showers and some rumbles of thunder possible. More showers on Friday, and in terms of temperatures, it'll be into the start of next week that things trend on the warm side of average, with temperatures swinging back toward
The Frankly Speaking roof cam almost looks like a painting, doesn't it? Of beautiful Market Street. That view brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. So the Senate voted yesterday 50-48 to require President Trump to end the Iran war, which concluded last week with a memorandum of understanding. It's the first time Congress has passed a resolution directing a president to end an undeclared war since adopting the War Powers Resolution back in 1973. Here we go. 4 Republicans voted with the majority of Democrats to ratify the House-passed measure. Who do you think those 4 were? Because remember, it passed 50-48. Who's the 4? You're not going to believe it. Bill Cassidy of Louisiana. Are you sure? I wonder if he's a little upset that because Trump got involved in his race and endorsed his opponent, that Bill Cassidy will now be a retired representative, a retired senator after November. I wonder if that's maybe why he's voting the way that he is. Rand Paul, of course, always a solid vote in that direction for the Democrats. Susan Collins as well, Lisa Murkowski. Bill Cassidy, unbelievable. It just comes off so pathetic and just so, listen, you lost, and that stinks, and it hurts, and it's I'm sure. But now to go after the president's agenda, it shows kind of his true colors. Now, I should note that Senator John Fetterman sided with the majority of Republicans. 2 Republicans were absent and did not vote, and that is Mitch McConnell and Dave McCormick, who was attending a Trump rally in his home state. I'm sure Mitch McConnell was not joined in that. That was a weird way of wording that. It's unclear what practical effect the resolution might have given the conflict's recent end, though its language may apply its hostilities. What? Resume? Though its language may apply if hostilities That got cut off. I apologize. Oh, it's got to be resume. I'm sorry. Got cut off. U.S. and Iranian negotiators are meeting in Switzerland this week. You got it. Okay. Now, it is being reported that Israel is furious with Trump for being left out of the peace talks deal, saying it's a huge mess. What did America think about that? How do they think that they can, at the same time, talk with Iran about Lebanon and force Israel to stop, and then bring the Israelis and the Lebanese to negotiate two sides when they are not in any way part of the negotiations with Iran? I really think it's a huge mess. An Israeli ambassador to the U.S. blasted the status of the peace efforts between the Jewish state and Lebanon. Yishol leader warned the issue has become a train wreck and questioned whether dismantling Hezbollah remains a central objective, saying, quote, "This is the fifth rounds of talks, and I must say we are heading towards a train wreck. 4 rounds ago, we all boarded the same train, we sat in the same carriage, and we set out toward the same destination, with the United States serving as a locomotive pulling us forward. That train was moving toward a very clear goal, a comprehensive peace between our countries, an Iran-free Lebanon, free from its malign influence, the dismantling of Hezbollah, and peace and security for both Lebanon and Israel. Today, that train is in danger of derailing, and I hope we can get it back." Now, as the Post says, Iran can't get any control over the Strait of Hormuz in this deal, period. There can't be any user fee, any kind of toll. President Trump couldn't send any worse signal of weakness to the rest of the world, both to our allies and our enemies. Even the insurance racket, protection money version, would devastate Western shipping, slamming the U.S. economy far more than the disruptions from Iran's recent temporary closure. It's just madness, abandoning a bedrock American principle going back to when President Thomas Jefferson sent the Navy and Marines to the shores of Tripoli, one vital to our national interests. No nation can have any rights or sovereignty whatsoever over the Strait of Hormuz, which has always been and must remain exclusively international waters. Let this pass, and the Houthis will soon charge for the nearby Bab al-Maham. Next, someone will hold the Strait of Malacca hostage. Britain and France need cash. Why not toll the English Channel? You get the idea. Freedom of navigation is real. Long-standing international law, far different from all the modern lefties try to add. Well, anyway, you get the idea. We cannot tax. We cannot give in on that tax in the Strait of Hormuz. Now, did you see that Trump is threatening to sue ABC News over their coverage of the reflecting pool? He's threatened to slap ABC News with fresh lawsuits over the outlets reporting on his $14 million revamp of the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool, which is turning green with algae, and it was painted American flag blue. Trump has claimed that the green tinge of the iconic 2,000-foot-long pool is a result of vandals who poured destructive chemicals into the water, adding that it would be drained for repairs and that authorities are actively investigating the matter. Saying, quote, "In describing the vandalism that took place at the reflecting pool in Washington, D.C., ABC Fake News, one of the worst in the business, even paying me $16 million for past bad and inaccurate reporting, failed to report that their close friends, Democrats Obama and Biden, spent over $100 million on the reflecting pool, and it never worked. In fact, it was rarely opened due to leaks and stench. I spent approximately $16 million, and it came out great, except for the vandalism, which we are now fixing. It was also a much bigger job than originally envisioned, including the outer areas and sidewalk. We are preparing lawsuits against ABC for false reporting. I like their money, which will be given to the U.S. Treasury." Now, the Obama administration reportedly spent roughly $35 million on a reconstruction project on the reflecting pool in 2010. It's unclear how much Biden spent on the pool, though he did not oversee any major repairs. ABC News has not responded to any kind of comment. Now, in a segment, and it must be the segment that Trump was referring to, back on June 18th, Jonathan Karl stood near the reflecting pool as he reported on its greenification, at one point bending down and lifting a peeling piece of the brand new liner. You remember $14 million was spent to drain this whole thing and to paint the bottom America flag blue was the color to make it reflect more magnificently. As you see, it's all green now. They know that. They're trying to kill the algae. But as they're doing that, something else has happened. Check this out. The American flag blue paint, it's peeling away. The $14 million job to redo the bottom of this reflecting pool is falling apart before our eyes. The algae is still here, but the paint appears to be going away. All right, you get the idea. Okay, now they're trying to compare the reflecting pool issue with Trump's second term. It's not easy being green. Trump's botched reflecting pool becomes a 2,028-foot metaphor. And I know I joked about this. I shouldn't really joke about it, but with Joe Sepolinsky last week, where I said, what's a bigger story, algae or the Iran deal? Because it's seeming like algae is taking the lead in attention. He wants to put his name on everything else. Why won't he create a sign in gold with his name calling this the Trump reflecting pool? Because it is truly his reflecting pool, said Sidney Blumenthal, a Lincoln biographer and happens to also be a former senior advisor to Bill and Hillary Clinton. Trump has wanted a monument to himself in Washington, and he finally has one. It is this reflecting pool, and it is perfect metaphor of failure, incompetence, a complete mess. And it stands before the Lincoln Memorial, which he seeks to overshadow with his arc of triumph after losing the Iran war. We got to take a break. I know I'm running late. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Hi, this is Tom Witzel, owner of Hesselson's in Amara Heights. At Hesselson's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselson's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is a start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselson's is still locally and family-owned and operated in Amara Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Our residents, this is something they love. They put themselves out there doing the show, walking the runway, walking the risers. Every penny we take in on our tickets, on our raffles, sponsorship tables, all goes to volunteers. We sold out in 2 weeks.
Technology program at Corning Community College offers the flexibility needed by adult learners.
CCC is great. They work with me. It's based around my schedule.
This is beyond just a simple education. You're going to get a lot of hands-on experience, technical work that I think is going to be valuable when you go out into the workforce.
The faculty are there to help you every step of the way.
They want us to succeed, and you can feel that.
Where you start matters. 2 years, get a degree, make a good living.
I just love coming in after they've been here and seeing everything clean and tidy. It's such a good way to start the week.
Sometimes I wonder if they are magic.
I feel like it's the details that is everything. The being able to pick up on things that most people don't see or don't even think about.
House, business, or anything else, go with Magic Rags. The Enchanted Crew has you covered from ceiling to floor.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Comment from Ken. It's disgusting that the legacy media and Democrats are more concerned about algae on the reflecting pool than they are about open borders, child trafficking, illegal immigrants murdering Americans, billions of dollars of fraud, and a president that was so demented that he didn't know what day it was. You're right, Ken. Algae has been, sadly, the number one topic that you're seeing everywhere. More so than, in many days, than Iran. Definitely more than any kind of coverage that we saw under the Biden administration about his mental and physical health or about his policies on open borders. You couldn't be more spot on, Ken. But they see this as the visual, the optics, that they can essentially mock and ridicule him. in their stories. And that's what they're always looking for. Look at some of these examples. This is coming from, I think it was The Guardian. Trump fumed about coverage of his swollen ankles or cankles as the White House staff secretly whisper about his age. Would we have ever seen this piece, to Ken's point, ever seen this piece about Biden? Of course not. And who are these anonymous sources? This is what drives me crazy. Because first of all, a White House staffer could be, the janitor that works in the section that's open to tourists, and that could still be considered a White House insider, correct? Because I don't think the media at this point is, the legacy media, the mainstream media, I don't think they're better than to actually make up sources. I think they've done that in the past where they'll say anonymous source and not actually have a person behind that source. President Trump fixated on negative coverage of his swollen ankles during the explosive White House moment as his staff whisper about his old age, according to you guessed it, a new book. The president is on track to set the record to become the country's oldest president. You get all that. In the book, Regime Change, Inside the Imperial Presidency of Donald Trump, New York Times journalists Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan wrote that despite the president and his doctor's insistence that he's in exceptional health, he's showing the wear and tear of being in his 80s. Now, keep in mind, people that don't like Trump will start quoting this new book by Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan from the New York Times, who clearly have an agenda, but they'll quote it as fact. Because all they do is say that they have these sources inside the White House. So if there are people in the White House that are talking to either Maggie Haberman, Jonathan Swan, or both, they do not have President Trump's agenda at heart, his best interest at heart. They never have. Those are the kind of people that would have been, and I don't think they talk to these people, is what I'm saying. But if they did, that's a problem like we had back in 2016, where you had a lot of insiders like John Bolton, who thought that he was not only more intelligent than the president, but more intelligent than the president's voters, and that his agenda would be better than the president's. But we'll continue here. They report that some of Trump's aides began to say privately that for the first time he was beginning to seem old to them. Those who spent time with him could see the signs, the moments of fatigue, the cupped hand behind the ear. But Trump's personal dominance in any room often papered over what his body could no longer fully conceal. Aides haven't attested to that publicly, with Marco Rubio testifying earlier this month that he's never seen the president fall asleep during a meeting. I think it's such a ridiculous argument because, again, it's just like under the Biden years where we were supposed to don't believe what you see with your eyes, believe what the media is reporting. Never mind the weirdness that we're seeing, the rambling on, the wandering off. Never mind those things. Trust us in the media. He's sharp as a tack. Now the same thing. Never mind all the press conferences that Trump's holding, the rallies that he's holding. Never mind how often we see him on TV daily. Never mind any of that. Believe what the media is reporting. Believe what Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan are reporting. That is a piece that you would have never seen about Joe Biden. And it's a 3-page piece. This was barely a surprise to those around him, given the 2 assassination attempts. He had worried about his personal safety traveling outside the White House during his first term, but was now far more cautious than ever before. What is that? We've heard enough. Now, did you hear about this crackdown? Do we have time? Yeah. This crackdown by Trump's administration. More than 450 alleged fraudsters, including 90 doctors and medical professionals, were busted for bilking at least $6.5 billion. $6.5 billion in fake Medicare and Medicaid claims, with one greedy nurse splashing her ill-gotten gains on a $865,000 necklace, a $594,000 Ferrari, and a $4.6 million Philippines beach resort. She bought her own resort. In the scheme of things, the Ferrari seems kind of cheap. The necklace at $865,000, Ferrari at $594,000. That was a nurse bilking Medicare and Medicaid. She got her own beach resort. That's your tax dollars, folks. The colossal crackdown, which spanned 45 U.S. states and territories, was announced yesterday by Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche, who called it the greatest combined federal and state effort combating healthcare fraud in history. In total, 455 people were netted, including alleged con artists who blew the taxpayer funds meant to help the poorest Americans on luxury cars, jewelry, mansions, fine art, an NFL box, that must mean like a suite, and a yacht named Butt Naked. Yes, a yacht. In one of the most erroneous cases, a student athlete in Florida died during basketball practice after the doctor, who was part of an $89 million fraud scheme, signed off on his cardiovascular test after giving only a cursory glance, according to the Department of Justice. Wow. So not even doing their jobs, just collecting the money. So a nurse in Texas was charged with billing Medicare for $1 million for each patient she applied unnecessary tissue grafts to. So Medicare, $1 million for every time unnecessary tissue grafts. Marzel Yuki of Las Vegas was charged with fraudulently billing $906 million in claims for which she was paid $297 million. She allegedly funneled the stolen funds to buy posh cars, real estate, jewelry, and even built a $4.6 million beach resort in the Philippines. When she was arrested, the feds seized $30 million from her bank account. And then I mentioned that, $467,000 in cash, the Ferrari, 7 other luxury vehicles. This is all on our money, folks. Separately, 3 Florida nurses were busted for a $118 million tissue graft scheme. And we don't have to go through each individual name, but you see where, and this is a long time coming. We've talked about it for how long. These investigations had to be done. You have states, especially states like ours, that are not taking it seriously. They don't mind the waste, fraud, and corruption. In L.A., the federal law enforcement has made another massive hospice fraud bust, swooping in on an alleged $27 million scam. That's a lot of money for a problem that Gavin Newsom claimed was a racist myth. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche deployed a team of investigators and prosecutors who uncovered a massive plot to steal the identities of people who had already died. One co-conspirator allegedly paid accomplices for the information he needed to steal patients' identities, then used the money to fund a high-end lifestyle, including a Rolls-Royce. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. noted that federal authorities had busted more than 800 hospices for fraud in L.A. alone since the start of the crackdown. The Maha leader noted that the miraculous fact that patients at some of these hospices appeared to be immortal, they never died, enabling fraudsters to collect government payments on their behalf forever, or at least until they were caught. It is the most vulnerable and the most desperate who suffer from these crimes. Money that is diverted by scam artists is unavailable for the needs of actual hospice patients. Then politicians demand more money, leading to higher taxes, and the cycle repeats. California politicians played the race card when the feds started raising questions about hospice fraud in L.A. Then they tried claiming that the Trump administration's claims of fraud were baseless. When that didn't work, California politicians started to claim that they were doing everything they could. We want Californians to know that we are on it, said California Attorney General Rob Bonta. But that's hard to believe given how much the feds keep finding. The problem begins with the sheer scale of healthcare spending in California from both state and federal sources. There is so much money that fraudsters find trying their luck irresistible. And the same would go here in New York. We do have a couple of New York updates running, just a tad bit late. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.
Accidents happen. If you're looking for an honest, dependable, trustworthy auto repair shop, bring it to Nappy's. Or if it's undrivable, have it towed right to us. It's your choice where to take your vehicle. Nappy's works with all insurance companies and will manage all vehicle calibrations. Nappy's has a state-of-the-art paint booth and a new and improved repair shop. Let our friendly staff of specialists help you through the process and get it done right the first time. Commit to Nappy's, family-owned for 3 generations.
Thank you for your business.
This was our last chance to show who our son was. I can't say enough about pre-planning. When you are in those moments, you are not thinking clearly.
We showed up for the remembrance, and we walked in and we just, wow.
It was arranged perfectly. Yeah. I certainly could not have done that in that moment. So to have those pre-conversations, it's really important.
Visit carpentersphillipsflint.com to learn more about our family-owned funeral homes.
had to pack up all my things. I had to leave my home. And I never knew where I was going next. It felt like I never even had a say. But then you came along.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you. Learn how you can help at nationalcasagal.org.
Meteorologist Brandon Weathers will top off around 78 today with some sunshine. A very pleasant day ahead of us and staying dry in the overnight hours with a low around 54, topping off then around 80 for our Thursday. Scattered showers and some rumbles of thunder possible. More showers on Friday, and in terms of temperatures, it'll be into the start of next week that things trend on the warm side of average, with temperatures swinging back toward
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Some viewer comments. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. This is so disgusting. This is in reference to how much waste, fraud, and corruption there is in Medicaid, Medicare, we see hospice. This is so disgusting. The greed is unconscionable. We should have a balanced budget in no time. Thank you, President Trump. Comment from Rick, who says good morning as well. Good morning, Rick. Trump wants our automakers to manufacture weapons after he blew everything up in Iran, Gaza, and Ukraine. Doesn't sound like there was much to go to Iran with. Good thing he didn't start anything with someone that's tougher than Iran, of which there are many. 1 in 4 F-35 fighter jets are not battle ready due to no spare parts. How does that happen? That's interesting that you mentioned Ukraine. But anyway, continuing. Well, did Trump hire a new pool boy yet? It's still pea green and the lining peeling off. Shouldn't Trump be putting some effort into people that can't afford rent or food or gas or sleep on the street? Shouldn't those issues take priority over anything else? He gets all wound up about national security. My opinion is we were just fine from a national security standpoint when Trump came on board again. It feels like we are much less secure with the antics Trump has pulled and all the leaders, people, and countries he's made mad. Feel like everyone hates Trump more than the rest of us. All right. Comment from Ken. I wonder how many of the deceased people in hospice care also mailed in ballots. Very good point, Ken. Because that's one, especially in California, but everywhere. We know that these mail-in ballots, that were originally put through during COVID, and it's like in New York State they call it early absentee voting, something like, you don't even have to have an excuse. It's not like the old days where I'm sick, I'm infirmed, and whatever. Now it's, hey, I just want my ballot. Okay. So yeah, you're right. That's a really good point, Ken. How many of those people in hospice care were voting that had been long past? Let's before we talk about New York issues, this is a New York issue. I want to congratulate Madison Tuttle. Yesterday, State Senator Tom O'Mara and Assemblyman Phil Palmisano attended the Watkins Glen High School's annual Dub G Sports Awards to pay tribute to senior standout Madison Tuttle for her championship in the 1 mile race walk at the 2026 Adidas Indoor Nationals Track and Field Championship in March in Virginia Beach. Tuttle won the event with a time of 8 minutes, 39 seconds, and .24. The victory marked Tuttle's second national championship in the mile race walk, which she also captured in 2024. O'Mara and Palmisano said the Watkins Glen School District has a proud history of athletic excellence, competition, and achievement. We appreciate the opportunity to congratulate and pay tribute to Maddie Tuttle as one of the school's most accomplished and highly decorated champions. It's an opportunity to recognize and honor her dedication, excellence, hard work, perseverance, and success. She's among the very best of our region's remarkable student athletes who help our communities stand out. Maddie's career represents an inspiring story of overcoming injury and emerging as a source of enormous pride and amazing success for the entire Watkins Glen school community, as well as for her family and friends, the community at large, and our entire region. Speaking of sports in New York, what is your thoughts? I'm sure you saw some of the pictures of the ribbon cutting. I see our Congressman Nick Langworthy was there, of the new $2.1 billion Buffalo Bills Stadium. Terry Pagula got emotional and sniffled upon referencing the passing of the passion his wife Kim put into getting the team's new stadium plans off the ground before falling ill. Mary Wilson apologized for getting teary-eyed when reflecting on her late husband Ralph Wilson's legacy as the Bills founder and Hall of Fame owner. The past met the present during a ribbon-cutting ceremony yesterday. The brand new Highmark Stadium, $2.1 billion. Now, when you look at it, some of that was state money, some of that was local tax money. What were your thoughts? It looks nice. The stadium's first scheduled event will be the Bills' annual Blue and Red scrimmage, set for August 8th. The team will also break in its new digs with home preseason game against Carolina on August 15th and Pittsburgh on August 27th. The ceremony was held in front of the north entrance of the Bills' gleaming new home, which took 3 years to construct. Yeah, it was like 3 years almost to the date when they made the announcement. The new stadium has several lounges, carpeted floors, wide concourse featuring local artwork. A curved roof overhang covers about 60% of the seats, while also reducing the wind at field level. The capacity has also been reduced down from 73,000 to just over 60,000, allowing for a more compact and intimate environment with all seats having clean sight lines. Wow, pretty intimate in the past at the Ralph Wilson Stadium. So the project was initially projected to cost $1.4 billion, with New York State and Erie County contributing $850 million in public money. The rest, including $700 million in overruns, is being covered by the Pagulas. The owners offset the cost by raising $263 million in one-time seat licensing sales, which also benefit an NFL loan program. Kathy Hochul grew up a Bills fan and opened her speech with a chant of "Let's go Buffalo." All right, there you are. Let's take a short break. This broadcast is moving quick. We'll read your primary results one last time towards the end of the show, so stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Out here, control is everything. At Young's Tires, we install BF Goodrich truck tires that bite harder, pull stronger, and keep you moving. When gravel shifts, when the surface fights for control, you don't. Dirt, gravel, mud, doesn't matter. This isn't about just getting there. It's about owning every mile. Get equipped. Get moving. Get to Young's Tires today.
This year, WYDC is bringing you 25 New York Mets games free over the air this spring and summer. No fees and no subscription services. Tune into WJKP 48.2 to watch the New York Mets this MLB season. Let's go Mets!
Did you know we waste as much as 40% of all the food we produce globally? Did you also know that each year, millions of acres of wildlife habitat are plowed over, and billions of gallons of water is guzzled up to produce that food? And your wallet is taking a hit too. Americans toss out more than $382 billion worth of food per year. That's a lot of waste. But did you know that there are simple things you can do to help? And spread the word that food should never be trash. Visit us at wwf.earth/
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Steve writes in this morning, and he says, good morning. And I say good morning to you, Steve. I guess some people don't remember it. Over 200 attacks on military bases near Iran during the last administration that literally went without any defense of our military personnel. Absolutely positively nothing was done about it. Some try to say that we were stronger before when the most unimaginable is happening over in the Gulf nations. They are all coming together to be against the one evil nation of Iran. The only country that have issues with us are those that are allowed the illegal migration to take over their nations, and now they live in fear. I am not sure why the TDS is running so deep still. The only reason I can come up with is that this is the only meaning to life any longer. Their only meaning to life any longer. Even the Prime Minister of Great Britain ended up stepping down. Thank you, Steve. Back to New York State quickly. The Trump administration is suing New York over its recently passed immigration law. So we talked about it with the mask ban, but it's more than that. The first, it prevents law enforcement officers from concealing their faces. That is part of it. The second prohibits the formal 287G cooperation agreements between ICE and local law enforcement. So yesterday we learned about the mask, that DOJ was going after the mask. Now they are also going after that agreement with local law enforcement. In the lawsuit, it says such state-imposed laws undermine the principles of federalism that underline our entire constitutional order by seeking to prevent effective federal law enforcement in New York. Such actions harm the citizens of both the United States as a whole and of New York as a state and are unconstitutional, subject to the Supremacy Clause. Now, Governor Hochul defended the law, saying a badge carries with it the responsibility to uphold the public's trust. New Yorkers deserve to know who is enforcing the law in their communities and have the assurance that local resources are being deployed to protect public safety, not to intimidate or advance the agenda of a rogue federal agency. These laws reflect New York's values, and we're not going to let anyone bully us into abandoning them. Okay. Now, Bruce Blakeman, running for governor, said last month that his county was considering all options because he from Nassau County has a very tough stance, really great stance with ICE, in support of ICE and support of dealing with illegal immigration. So someone speculated that's why she went so strong with her stance on ICE. All right, do we have enough time? All right, when we return, we'll give you one last update on, not really an update, tell you about what is happening or what happened last night during the vote. Get your last second comments in. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Don't have time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Dear Soccer, with Toyota's all-star lineup, everyone's game. From goalies to forwards and all their fans. Jump in, kick back, and let's go. Toyota. Lease a rugged Tacoma with 0 down and first month's payment of $399 due at signing. Find yours at Toyota.com. Toyota. Let's go places.
Meteorologist Brandon Weathers will top off around 78 today with some sunshine. A very pleasant day ahead of us and staying dry in the overnight hours with a low around 54, topping off then around 80 for our Thursday. Scattered showers and some rumbles of thunder possible. More showers on Friday, and in terms of temperatures, it'll be into the start of next week that things trend on the warm side of average, with temperatures swinging back toward 90.
Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, getting ready to wrap up today's edition. Final look back at last night's election results. But first, Ken writes in, interesting comment accusing Trump of not worrying about the homeless. How many Democrats have done anything for the homeless? Did bringing in millions of illegal immigrants, giving them phones, distributing them around the country, housing them and feeding them, help or hurt homeless American citizens? I think the Democrats should adhere to the old adage, people that live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Thank you, Ken. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning. Well, good morning to you. Thanks for highlighting the fact that Trump is doing everything he can to protect New Yorkers from illegal criminals, fraud of our tax dollars, and high taxes due to big government allowed by New York leadership. Yes, absolutely. We have to. He's doing the job that Hochul isn't going to do. Hochul's going the opposite. So now we have the feds, and rightfully so, going after these new immigration policies. Okay, quickly, the big upset last night, Mark Margeson defeating Chris Moss, 2,482 votes to 1,979. We talked about it a little bit this morning. Were you shocked by this? Moss was the favorite going in, I would say, just by the comments we received here, anecdotally. But that means that Chris Moss will be on the conservative line in the general election, so it's not completely over. County Legislator District 1, Lawana Morris, defeated Brent Tarantino, 58% to 41%. You have in District 3 for Chemung County Legislature, Tom Sweet defeating Donald Ziegler 69% to 30%. I'm rounding up and rounding down if you don't mind. Okay, County Legislator District 5. Ken Miller was defeated by Nicole Elston. Nicole Elston, 57.61% to Ken Miller's 41.77%. And finally, another prime example of why you need to vote, whether in the general or the primary, even though I believe the primary, your vote matters even more because of the low turnout. In District 6, as of right now, there's still absentees, there's still some out, but as of right now, Joseph D. Donovan has 169 votes. Kyle M. Weeder has 169 votes, a tie at 49.85% for both of them. And whoever sent in that one write-in could have been a kingmaker, could have decided between the two, but decided to write in, who knows, Donald Trump or Mickey Mouse or something. But 169 each. And we'll be keeping an eye on that. As I said, in Steuben County, just such a low turnout. 4.5% of all registered voters went to the primary vote yesterday, 2,938 in Steuben County. We look at these quickly. Campbelltown Supervisor Norman Maynard defeating Jeffrey Horton, 61 to 37%. Corningtown Justice Wendelin Van Zyl defeating Randy Dye, 58% to 40%. For Irwintown Council, Heather Ford defeating Elisa Trocia, 61 to 37%. Lindley Town Supervisor Patrick Clark defeats Roger Reap, 76 to 23%. Lindley Superintendent of Highways, 65% goes to Dylan N. Hill over Carlos Plumley, 65 for Dylan, 34% for Carlos. And finally, Rathbone Town Council member Kevin Clark defeats Mary Catherine Cole, 71% to 28%. Aaron Geis is your Democrat candidate, or Geese, I'm sorry. I think I've been told it's Geese. Aaron Geese has received the nomination of the Democratic Party by defeating Kevin Stoker yesterday. He will now face Congressman Nick Langworthy. And finally, Thomas DiNapoli, the incumbent, is running again now for New York State Comptroller. He will face Joseph Hernandez, who we had on the program probably a couple months ago. We'll make sure we have all of those candidates on again. That does it for today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Congratulations to everyone who ran yesterday, win, lose, or draw. It is quite a responsibility. It's quite a lot of work, and congratulations for you for putting in the effort and trying to represent your community. Kudos. All right, join us every weekday morning starting at 6 for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Hi, I'm meteorologist Brandon Weathers. We'll top off around 78 today with some sunshine, a very pleasant day ahead of us, and staying dry in the overnight hours with a low around 54, topping off then around 80 for our Thursday. Scattered showers and some rumbles of thunder possible. More showers on Friday, and in terms of temperatures, it'll be into the start of next week that things trend on the warm side of average, with temperatures swinging back toward 90s.
Out of control is everything. At Young's Tires, we install BF Goodrich truck tires that bite harder, pull stronger, and keep you moving. When gravel shifts, when the surface fights for control, you don't. Dirt, gravel, mud, doesn't matter. This isn't about just getting there. It's about owning every mile. Get equipped. Get moving. Get to Young's Tires today.
Lease a brand new 2026 Nissan Murano SL all-wheel drive featuring power moonroof and heated seats for only $479 a month for 24 months. Make car buying simple. Drive your deal at Simmons Rockwell Nissan in Horseheads and Hornell.
The chemicology program at Corning Community College gives students the flexibility to do much of their coursework on their own schedule.
If you're trying to make a change in your life, this is a great opportunity.
It's been really, really awesome. We're still getting plenty of labs, hands-on experience. It really does feel like the best of both worlds.
As like an adult learner, I know what I want, I know where I want to work. The ChemTech program is helping me get there.
Where you start matters. We are here to help you succeed. And